who is responsible for the latest increase in GDP figures. The Finance Minister and the previous Finance Minister are staking claim. The economy is on the path to recovery, said Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, pointing to GDP growth numbers for the first quarter of the financial year, beating expectations to come in at 5.7%, the highest in the last 9 quarters. Mr. Jaitley attributed this to the Narendra Modi election, where he won the first outright parliamentary majority in 3 decades, which improved sentiment among consumers, investors and the business community.
To put more money to all the steps that we in the finance ministry had to take, there was a strong prime ministerial backing. In terms of investment mood, there is a sea change. The manufacturing curve has turned. Services are looking up. In the first quarter of this year, a 5.7% growth rate is encouraging. We have an ambitious disinvestment plan which will roll itself out in the coming days.
Rahul Srivastav now joins us from the capital for more on that. Rahul, there have been a lot of barbed remarks going around on who is responsible for this GDP figure.
Amitabh, one can say that Mr. Arun Jaitley is a lucky man, because I don't think any finance minister over the last few years had the luxury of having a slightly buoyant economic and a growth figure for a quarter as Mr. Arun Jaitley had. And that is why you can hear that during his press conference there was one line that people of the country have a reason to smile. Questions were being asked regarding the monsoon. He said that there are enough food grains in the country. But the fact remains, Amitabh, that even the retreating monsoon is actually bringing in rains. But if you look at the entire press conference by Mr. Arun Jaitley, there is one very clear underline, that there is a greater sense of caution within the government, primarily because though the things are looking up, there is what we can say is that economy is at a takeoff stage. That from a very sluggish economy, somewhere things are looking up, but the government needs to do something. And that is why during the press conference there were questions regarding several elements like the reform process. For example, he talked about the disinvestment process. He said, yes, things are on course. That's why he said that primarily because, say, ONGC, Coal India and NHPC, 3 PSUs are in for disinvestment. The decision was to be taken in the last cabinet meeting. It is likely to go to the next cabinet meeting. As far as the GST is concerned, Mr. Arun Jaitley said that the government remains committed and very soon it could well be a reality, and the government will like to introduce it in the winter session of Parliament. But if you also look at, there is a sense of caution, and also perhaps a sense of caution for the public of the country. Because if you see what he talked about, the prices of diesel and petrol, he said that the under-recoveries in terms of diesel prices is getting reduced, as prices are being steadily increased by 50 paisa every month. They will be touching very soon what is called the market price, and after that the government will not be raising it by 50 paisa, and he has said that it may get linked directly to the market prices. What that actually means, that if the market price goes up, then there could be definitely a greater than 50 paisa rise, and if there is a decline, then there will be a decline, as in the case of petrol. He also talked about the fact that how subsidies need to be rationalized. That's another sense of caution as far as the government is talking about. I think what the war over the GDP figures definitely will be raging, because both the political parties, the Congress and the BJP, will indulge in a tremendous amount of rhetoric. What one can certainly say, that a couple of decisions of this government, in terms of how the government has started trying to make decision making a slightly more simpler, less complicated and a much more aggressive process. That, and also the fact that there is a new government in power, which has a majority mandate compared to all the governments since 1989, which did not have a mandate. There are always some kind of arm twisting allies, and that is why their decision making had much more allies to be countered than what this government really has to. And that is why one can certainly see is that the decision making on certain elements have been easier for this government. But again, There are certain hurdles within the system. If you heard Mr. Arun Jaitley, he said that I will speak to the opposition regarding the insurance bill, and we hope that the amendments and a crucial reform move can be cleared, because the government has a majority in the lower house, but in the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, it's a different ball game altogether. In all, what one can say, the entire press conference can be underlined as a press conference by a finance minister who's sitting on an economy as the chief controller of the economy, which is on a takeoff stage.
Just picking up from your last point, Rahul, he also spoke with the hat of defense minister.
Yes, Amitabh, he also spoke as a defense minister because he straddles both the ministries. And what is very interesting, Amitabh, in this press conference, that yesterday the Prime Minister, interacting with the Japanese media, had talked about the fact that how when he took charge, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was in India, attended his swearing-in ceremony, and that built an atmosphere of trust and camaraderie, following which it was decided that the foreign secretaries of the two countries will meet. But then Pakistan made a spectacle of the entire talks and started talking to the separatist forces, and that does not create a conducive atmosphere. Today, as Defense Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley talked about the fact that how there have been border skirmishes, and these border skirmishes are not creating the right kind of climate. I think this is a kind of a justification or rationalization Indian government is trying to build vis-a-vis what, as far as the international community is concerned. Prime Minister is already in Japan. There these issues may come up, and also India will like to present that how it has tried to initiate the dialogue process, it has tried to sustain, but eventually if there has been a letdown, it's largely because of Pakistan. Then comes a crucial visit by the Prime Minister to the United States and his meeting with President Obama. I think on that the government is trying to create a situation in which it's trying to say that it is Pakistan which is disturbing the talk process, not that India has been unilateral in cancelling the talks.